they say all men are created equal.
Shot! Master!
I pull out the Glock.
Full of suffering succotash, son.
It's one of your nuts hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Too Sweet with Lucy and Estelle. All In has come and gone. I mean, this weekend was just a big blur. We had a great time in London. We put a vlog up, so go and watch that if you haven't already. We've had a lot of new subscribers come from that, so hello and thank you to you all. And if you're a new person, hopefully you'll stick around. We do Dynamite reviews every week, so that's what we're here to do today. But of course, we've got to talk about All In at the start, so I think that's what we're going to jump into doing now. But I mean, yeah, it was. What a great show. But just a blur of a weekend.
Yeah, just an absolute blur. I mean, I feel like there was a few people who commented that, the first one, I really didn't know what to expect this year because I honestly thought like, oh, nothing could top last year. Like, you knew that the attendance wasn't going to be as high, which I had like mixed feelings about that. Like, I like obviously like, oh, that's a shame because obviously it was the initial first time, and we spoke about this, like more casual AEW watchers that we knew went for the first time, didn't go for the second time. But then in a way it was kind of good because the second time it was just full of like diehard AEW fans, and the passion was just overflowing, and it felt like 80,000. Like not at any point, maybe other than like the merch queue, did it feel anything less. But yeah, I think it really showed the booking difference compared to last year where it was just thrown together last minute. This year the care and love that was put into the storylines and how that really just made every single match feel like you just couldn't miss it. I mean, yeah, and God, the view that we got, guys, if you haven't seen like on the vlog, much better this year. God bless Taylor Swift and them using a bit of her staging, a bit of a woman's direction, but made a massive difference having the ramp coming down. So it's a shame. I've heard that some of you guys that were on the opposite end to the ramp, which was like the part that wasn't tarped up. Apparently there was only like two screens. So there's one like facing us and then one facing the other way, but there wasn't one facing that way, which is where the majority of people were sat. And obviously, like, if you're quite high up, like in the 500s, there was a seat, the screen behind. So I know a lot of people were looking behind themselves to see, and obviously the light fiasco, and things like that. So yeah, but I think overall, like the staging was better. It felt a lot bigger, even though, like I say, it was reduced capacity. It was just a much better use of space, and
Yeah,
I would take that over having the setup that they had last year for sure.
yeah, it was like long ways this year, wasn't it? Like the ramp going down, it just made a lot more sense. Yeah, it did feel a lot better, and like I said, our view was spot on. Couldn't have asked for any better, really. Yeah, as two short girls, like we wouldn't want to be on the floor, like not being able to see past people. We were on like the 200s, which it was just ideal, really. You could watch the ring if you wanted to, like, you could see the action in the ring. You didn't have to look at the screen. But we did have obviously a good view of a screen as well. Because bitches like me have bad eyesight. But overall, it was just spot on, and I loved the vibes in our section as well. There was a lot of really passionate fans, but no one like being annoying or being like there was no assholes around us really.
Yeah, that's a great point because compare that to last year as well. When we were in the 500s. We were like the only ones, like I
Really
feel like
into it.
making, yeah. Um, Whereas like, I don't know, maybe that's just because I guess it had more casual fans, and the more casual you are, the less money you're gonna want to spend on it. Uh, but yeah, you're so right. This year it was, and people, popping off for different matches. Obviously, I had my Young Bucks moment. But like I feel like everyone sort of in our section had a certain wrestler or a certain match that like they were quiet and then suddenly they just popped off. So that was great for sure. But yeah, and it went so fast this year as well. Like the card just absolutely flew by. And yeah, I mean, personal standouts for me, obviously the main event. Uh, again, like, I just haven't fully processed it. Like, it's just insane to think that I know that, you know, as of this week's Dynamite, Danielson still has a bit left in the tank. Probably see him maybe up until World's End. I mean, that'd be very apt when it World's End and
Mm.
he ends his full-time wrestling career there. But it's great to have seen him, probably in his prime, because I guess who knows when he's going to return to do part-time wrestling. Uh, so that was fantastic, and I really enjoyed the tag match, which was just hilarious
Really?
because I was absolutely yeah, because I was absolutely dunking
Wow.
on it. But I think even if the Acclaimed would have won, I think I still would have enjoyed it because it was just so thrilling. It was
It
just like,
was. There was lots of like near falls, and it was
yeah.
quite unexpectedly like unpredictable and quite fast paced. I mean, I know that these are three great tag teams, and they expect them to put on a good match that we've seen from them before. But yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. It was quite unexpected.
And obviously the Casino Gauntlet, I think would be my other mention. That was just, I think it was probably, other than the main event, our most anticipated one going in just to see who the wild cards were going to be. But God, who could have predicted Zack Sabre Jr., Nigel McGuinness, Ricochet coming out, the Hangman spot was perfect. Okada being in the ring with all these guys. It was just absolutely,
It
and
was a
especially
fever
to
dream.
be there live, I feel like there's nothing like be it a Royal Rumble or a Casino battle. Like that is just the match that you want to see live. So for me, those are mine. So I feel like obviously we share similar ones. I think I can guess one of yours being
Hmm.
the opening match on the card. But if you'd
Yes.
like to talk about your Blackpool combat girly day
Yes,
out.
you would be correct. Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't expecting that to be the opener, so I was very like caught off my guard and like, oh shit, this is happening right now. And I wasn't expecting BCC to win, especially considering, they've been put together with Pac pretty randomly. But I mean, I'm not complaining about it. I think he fits in that team really well. Um, yeah, I thought that was a great match, and I thought well deserved winners and just something I weren't expecting. My favorite wrestler
Yeah.
Claudio getting his moment at Wembley. That's great. I mean, after last year, all I wanted was for him not to take the pin. I couldn't ask for any more, really. But yeah, echo what you said about the gauntlet. That was fantastic. I felt like I was hallucinating that whole match. I was just like, this is a fever dream. This isn't real. This isn't happening. It was crazy. It was a really like I knew it was going to be good, and there's always that excitement with that type of match. Like, who's it going to be? And I felt like Nigel was going to get involved in like the main event or something, like try and get involved with Brian. I didn't expect to see him in his trunks taking bumps. You know what I mean? So yeah, a whole lot. And I thought Tony Storm versus Mariah May was great as well. I think they were the standouts for me. Obviously, the main event. I mean, that goes without saying. That's one of the best matches. That's probably the best match I've possibly ever seen live. Um,
Really? That's high acclaim.
Probably, yeah. I think so.
Wow.
This is just a bit of a tangent. I've been thinking I need to like start making a spreadsheet of all the matches I've ever seen like in person and just keep a record of that. Because how do you keep track? How do you possibly keep track?
Yeah, you're seeing them every weekend as well. Probably should have made a track of like our favorite matches and views and angles for the end of the year because we're probably just gonna have to go by memory now. Next year we'll have the spreadsheet out. We've got the spreadsheet for the Dynamite ratings now though, so we'll be able to calculate our results.
Well,
So
what we'll
that'll
have
be
to do
interesting.
is go back and listen to our old episodes. I mean that's going to be a no from me, fam.
Oh yeah.
Watching all them back.
But I really wanted to ask you as well. Obviously you've watched the show back in full. I haven't yet. So I just wanted to see if there was anything interesting that you picked up on that you didn't watching it live or anything, any matches or any spots that stood out to you even more that you didn't catch when we were there on the
Um,
Vino.
yeah, I will. I will tell you one thing that I didn't. All right, okay. There was a couple of things that I didn't notice at the time. Number one being the fact that Darby Allin in the casket match had thumbtacks glued to his face. We didn't see this, and we had no way of seeing this really. I don't think. I don't know. If I would have seen it, I just assumed he had like rhinestones on his face, like a fashion statement. No, he had thumbtacks stuck to his face, pointing outwards. So yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing I didn't realize. And also, do you remember in the Hook and Jericho match when he unloaded that bag into the ring, and we were like,
You'll have to remind me
and we
what
thought
was
they were
in the bag.
apples. We thought they were apples. Remember?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that does ring a bell.
And we were
Yeah, because he was
like,
throwing them.
apples. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Bad apple, whatever. They weren't apples. They were cricket balls.
What?
They were cricket balls. But I've seen people talk about this on Twitter. We're not the only ones who thought they were apples. Apparently, lots of other people did too.
Ah,
So that's a bit weird.
that is weird. I mean, I guess like England, cricket, all that, but it's good to
Yeah,
know. I
yeah. And
feel like it's a Watch Mojo video. Top 10 things you didn't see at Wembley
yeah,
All In.
we'll dip into doing lists next. The only other thing was just like commentary. Commentary was really good. So you had
Oh, can imagine.
Nigel on the first two matches. Um, Mariah gave him a kiss, and he was like, "See ya, I'm out. See you guys later. I got to recover from this." And I'm loving the memes where everyone's like, "That one kiss from that crazy blonde girl has rejuvenated this man." Just goes to prove what a crazy white girl can do. Um, and what else? Oh yeah, but this is where I was going with this. So then Taz replaced him. Obviously, we had Taz getting involved in Hook's match. That was chef's kiss, beautiful, loved it. And then for the main event, we had JR on commentary, and
Yeah.
beautiful, really good. I love that. I love you're bringing him out for these like huge matches. I mean, his voice adds so much to a moment. So I love that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I can't wait to watch it back. I think I watched last year's back multiple times just to relive it. It's great. Um,
Think it's on ITV4 like right now. Like I think it started
yeah.
10 minutes ago. So a bit too late for me to say that now, but yeah.
Yeah, to go record it, but yeah, I mean, the only things that I think perhaps obviously we're not I had the best time, like 10 out of 10 show. I feel like I can't fully like rate it until I've watched it live back myself and lived it how, the majority of you guys lived it. But the Christian Cage win, as we said in the vlog, it was a bit strange and then there wasn't any answers to it on this week's Dynamite either, so I'm still totally in the dark about that situation and where we're going with that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they could have at least addressed it on Dynamite in some way, in some shape or form.
Yeah, because obviously Jack Perry came out in the main event. I don't know if that's because the people have been speculating for ages they're going to do something Christian Cage, Kill Switch, Jungle Boy, Jurassic Express. I don't know. Maybe it's going to have amazing payoff. Um, but right now it's not that I hate it. It's just like, you're just cautiously moving ahead with it. Like, okay,
It all depends on the follow-up, doesn't it? Like how it goes from now.
yeah,
In that moment, it was just like, oh my God, this is the best match ever. And then suddenly it was over and it was sort of like, what? Like, it was very anticlimactic because you thought that Kill Switch, aka Luchasaurus, was gonna turn on him, and everyone was like, "Yeah, he's gonna turn," and then he just
yeah.
didn't,
He was
and
introduced as
everyone was
Luchasaurus,
flat.
wasn't he?
Yeah,
As well. So like, but obviously that was
mhm,
an intentional bit. I mean, I've heard
yeah,
theories going around that Luchasaurus is just going to swim off with Jack Perry, and Nick Wayne's going to actually be the one to turn. Uh, such interesting components to the story, and Yeah, it was interesting because I think usually at a show like All In, you tend to wrap things up. It's like conclusive. It's like your biggest show of the year. But this year, from All In and then the follow up on Wednesday, it seems like he's just kind of been like, "Oh, I'm gonna hard reset a lot of shit," and kind of expect the unexpected. And a lot of things were shook up. We got a lot of new champions,
Yeah.
um, a lot of new. I mean, Blackpool Combat Club, Pack coming in. Mox potentially coming out with his actions on Dynamite. But it overall just very, very exciting.
Yeah,
And I think like the only other thing, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say I just agree and it feels like a fresh start.
Yeah, yeah. Um, the only other thing, just touching on with all in that I have to say is the criticism towards the Britt Baker Mercedes match. I know a lot of people felt quite let down by that. It got quite a negative reviews online. I think a lot of people hyped it up, and then there's been a lot of fallout about that. So I don't know whether to get into that now, whether we should leave that for the news at the end.
I mean, it's kind of on topic now, isn't it?
Yeah. So I
I
guess like initially, what was your like? You watched it live. How obviously you said you love Marime Tony Storm, so that was clearly the better women's match for you. How
Yeah.
were your expectations met?
Well, I have to say that like watching it in person at the time, I wasn't like blown away by it, but I didn't go away thinking that was shit. That wasn't my impression at all. I'm just kind of like, okay, that wasn't great. That didn't blow my socks off, sort of thing. And I think it was in a really tough spot on the card, so much so that you kind of forgot about it, which obviously isn't good and not what you want. And then having watched it back, and after having seen all the criticism, I still don't think it was shit. I don't think that all the negativity is really necessary. I totally understand it maybe didn't live up to expectations. It wasn't as good as maybe people thought it was going to be. But I didn't think it was a fucking terrible match.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, like, I agree with you. It was just fine. I never had the expectations of it being the greatest match ever. I
Mm,
was more so excited just to see them like bounce off each other and the outcome. Mercedes to
yeah,
me
more about the story
has
than the
never
wrestling.
really been like the best female wrestler ever. And Britt Baker, I love her. Yeah, I have my Britt Baker t-shirt on, but she is, she's just come back from a long hiatus and she can wrestle a bit more of a slower pace and she is better for like gimmicked matches. Um, that's kind of where she got like a whole notoriety. No, notoriety, is that the right word?
Hmm.
Notoriety, I can't even think. But yeah, that's kind of like so I don't know, like I didn't it's not that I had lower expectations, but I just had measured expectations, I feel like.
Yeah,
For me that was just gutted by the finish. Like
yeah, you were really disappointed.
that was more my main takeaway. But I think a lot of people online have just been like taking Mercedes' side that it's all Britt
Yeah,
Baker's fault. Britt Baker's
yeah, I've
always
been
been a
saying that.
terrible wrestler, which is just like I don't know. It's honestly insane the switch up on Britt Baker, guys, which is why like I just can't take any of it seriously of what people are saying. Fair enough if that has been your measured opinion the whole way through. I will respect that. But for a lot of people, oh, I miss Britt Baker, I miss Britt Baker. Britt Baker comes back. Britt Baker gets heat backstage, and then suddenly Britt Baker's the worst wrestler. Britt Baker's never been a good wrestler. Britt Baker's terrible. And as well, like people think that it's all her fault that the match was terrible. And I don't know if you saw about Mark Henry as well popping off. Um, he accused her of sandbagging, and that when she went for the backbreaker off the ropes, um, like as in Mercedes to do the backbreaker off the ropes, that she was sort of baiting her into a move that she wouldn't be able to do. He was really brutal. He was like, you're the first woman to be hired at AEW. Get your ass out there, work like your life depends on it. Um, if yeah, he really popped off her.
I
Obviously
mean,
sandbagging, that's something that's been like contentious with Britt Baker, with the Thunder Rosa match when she accused her of doing that. But I just feel like a lot of it is quite unfair criticism because how do you know she was sandbagging? Like how do you know that? How do you know that Mercedes can't do? Maybe it was an ambitious move to attempt, but how do you know? And I'm not saying like don't criticize the match. Like I think Britt Baker could have done with a program before Mercedes Moné. She could have done with
mm,
a bit more time in the ring. Maybe those two needed to work on the production of the match a bit more backstage. Who knows what the schedules were like? Maybe they were clashing. There was a lot of weeks where we had like vignettes and shit, so maybe they didn't have as
yeah,
much time. I'm not sure, but I just don't think like the reaction is measured to like you say, like how the match was. Like it really wasn't the worst match in the world. Like it was just fine. It was just
exactly.
fine.
Exactly. I could totally agree with you. I've seen the same thing, like people just ragging on Brit, and I don't get it. I do not understand it. I don't know where you get this from, that it's entirely on her and that she's
Yeah.
apparently done something wrong. And I've never once thought like I'm like you said, I've not seen many people in the past be like she's a bad wrestler, and now all of a sudden she's been a bad wrestler this whole time, and it seems totally like perfectly put by you, like unmeasured and just unreasonably like harsh. I'm confused. I'm confused.
Yeah, and as well, a criticism as well that I've seen is, oh, the story going into this was terrible. The build going into this was terrible. Like, what? The build was great. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. It's just like it's just spiraled out of control. It's gone from them having a mid-match to Britt Baker's always terrible.
Yeah,
She's just shit. Like, I mean, even before people were trying to rewrite the history books by being like, oh, Sheeda deserves this more than her, like trying to pit her and Sheeda against each other. And it's just crazy because like it's such a small women's division that's finally getting legs. And
yeah,
you're trying to like cut the legs down of someone who's been a backbone of that division, who like the last thing anyone should be doing if they care about women's wrestling AEW should be trying to bury it. I'm not saying don't
exactly.
criticize it. Don't say that the match was a bit of a letdown. The match was mid. My issue is when it just spirals out of control. And like I say, if that's been your opinion the whole time, for me, Darby Allin never been my favorite wrestler. Never been my favorite wrestler. But I'm not going to switch up on Darby Allin tomorrow if like he had a controversy and then all this time I'm like, oh, Darby Allin's all right, and then I'm like, oh, fuck Darby Allin. Like
Mhm.
I'm not that flaky, so it, it irks me. But then again, I'm asking wrestling fans to not be flaky and to like
Fickle.
hold one opinion that isn't swayed by dirt sheets. So maybe I'm just asking for too much there.
The fickle. Fickle is what they are. I think I think a big part of it is as well that like the card was so good. The whole show was amazing. There's one thing that maybe wasn't that good, and people are tuning into that and just turning it into as much negativity as they can. And I think it being a women's match, that's a big reason. It's just classic. Oh, the women's match fucking sucked, and you just turn that into something different. Not helped by like some of the backstage rumors that we've had before. And did you say it Mark Henry weighing in before?
Yeah,
I mean,
Mark
come
Henry,
on,
who's
this
just been
guy,
quite continuously burying the product. It's just like despite
this
work, I mean, his
guy.
son got so this homie. He recently his son got signed for WWE. I don't know whether like he's obviously going to transition over to there to like support his son and stuff, but it's just like while he's still under the paycheck, like I don't get it, like what you're getting out of that. And I mean that is such a vehement rumor to spread. Like for me, that just really pissed me
Yeah.
off because it's like you know the power, you know the influence you have, you know
Mhm.
how like her reputation is right now, and you have just fucking poured on a shit ton of gasoline onto the fire,
Yeah.
which is unfounded. And in that
It's
as
just a
well,
rumor, isn't
in
it?
that
It's
arc,
just
in that sort of quote as well, he's totally bigging up Mercedes. Like Mercedes an angel. Mercedes didn't do anything wrong. It takes two people to have a match.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
like, I don't know. Of course, like if she was actually sandbagging, if she was forgetting a spot, if she was, which maybe she was rusty because she hasn't been in the ring that often. But I just think that's such a dick move because
It
like
is
the influence of your words, and
exactly.
unless that is actually true to say that, it just pisses me off. It just pisses me off, man.
Yeah, same. Even if it was true, I'm not saying it'd be a justified thing to do, but what's saying that benefiting anyone? Do you know what? It's just non. It's just unneeded. It's just an unneeded comment. We don't need to spread that sort of thing, especially like you say, a person like him with the weight behind his voice and the reach that he has. Like, what's the need? Who's this benefiting?
Yeah, I'm sure other people have different opinions. I'm sure some people will do. So yeah, sound off in the comments. As always, like respect it. Do you know what I mean? Like if you don't agree, that's fair enough. But hopefully we can all agree on just just how it's just spiraled. But I think that's pretty much it for All In. Like our overall thoughts, unless there's anything else you can think of that you'd like to just tag on.
I mean, not really. Yeah. What more is there to say other than it was very good and we obviously really
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
Jack Perry beating up Darby Allin and sitting on his coffin. 10 out of 10.
That whole
Um,
match, I
but
mean, and Dynamite this week, very horny is the word I would use.
yeah, certain parts. I'm so excited to review this Dynamite though, guys. Like this
Yeah.
Dynamite was so fucking brilliant. Like I'm so excited to know your thoughts on it. Um, Opening up, we had just a quick rundown of what happened at All In, and obviously they showed the Danielson Swerve match just to build up for Danielson's announcement on where his career is going forward at the end of the show. But this, the next thing that came out was totally just all of this situation. Just what? What? So the announcers are kind of gearing up as though there's going to be a match next. Um, Hangman and Ishii. But instead, we hear this music, and Moxley comes out. It's different. It's not Wild Thing. It's just sort of like a grungy, low tempo guitar.
I've read that it's apparently his New Japan entrance music, but that I've not like
Yeah,
I've not confirmed that, but yeah.
yeah. So he comes out, and even just the way he walks, his approach, it's very somber. It's very serious. It's not gearing up, like hyping up with the crowd, like throwing a beer over yourself. Like it's not that type of energy. It's focused, it's calculated. And the announcers played it off like what? Like what is this? Like who is this person's music? Why is Moxley here? Obviously had a lot of time off recently, personal time off. Um and yeah, it's almost like he's hijacking the show. So that was already like super intriguing. Um, and then he's going to the ring, and they're like, "Go on, Shivani, get in." So Shivani gets in, and the whole time, like the way I'd like surmise it is just his intentions is totally unreadable. You don't know whether like he's gonna just turn heel and just knock Shivani out. You don't know whether he's gonna call out Danielson maybe. Uh, y- you just don't know. But he said he's been doing a lot of things, and he says that him and Darby need to have a chat. Um, and then essentially he said it isn't your company anymore, and sort of strolled off. So just like what?
What? Yeah, what? Just what? That's the reaction. Very weird and very confusing. Um, and like when he said like it's not your company anymore, like he said it to Tony Schiavone, but it's like, what does he mean by that? Who is he actually directing that towards? Like what's he referring to? Very ambiguous. Um, I saw quite a funny thing on Twitter that someone said he's got Tony Schiavone mixed up with Tony Khan, and he just thinks that it, Tony Schiavone's the one booking the whole show, and he's been getting it. He's just got confused between all the Tonys. Has been going through Tony Storm and things like this. But yeah, very intriguing, very an interesting way to come back rather than just like come back and attacking someone or cutting like a dead intense promo. It's instead you like you said, he's very reserved and like calculated. He had like a bit of a different look about him as well. And, like he's obviously freshly shaved his head. He's got that ear piercing, looking fresh.
I don't know about you, but I kind of got like Shield 2.0 vibes,
Oh
like
my God.
really early day invasion angle Shield vibes. Like
I'm so glad
that
that you just said that.
intensity.
I'm so glad that you said
Yeah.
that because like the outfit was sort of giving that to me. Do you remember like in the really early days when they wore them turtlenecks? It was kind of
Yes.
reminding me of that a little.
It's kind of like Tony Khan was alone in his room like a bag of coke, and he was just like, Darby Allin, the champion. How do I do it? And it's like this crazy like fantasy booking type vibe. Not
Convoluted.
Yeah, not just like, oh, well, this standard bullshit of like we'll do a tournament. It's like then this happens, and then this happens, and he's like, AEW doesn't have storytelling. I'll give you storytelling like that. This is to me like Sting's gonna fucking come back and
Oh,
be like
hell
his
yeah.
mentor. I just it just feels crazy, but I'm so happy to like be along for the ride. Like the last time I kind of got this feeling was when the devil storyline kind of started, and it was just so
Mm.
like, I mean, that was a letdown, so hopefully this doesn't follow in its footsteps, but it has, and it's similar time of year as well to when the devil storyline started.
Oh God,
Um,
yeah, you're
uh,
right.
like when it proper started to like kick up gears. Um, so yeah, but as we've said, like Darby, he's been leaked backstage to be possibly transitioning into the title picture. They really are high on him, getting a world title run in, possibly before he fucking kills himself on Everest. Uh, and I mean, it was weird because you don't know in this whether he's calling him out to fight Darby or whether it's because he wants to like recruit him. But why would you want to recruit him? Because he already has a faction, a very strong faction, a
But it-
faction which Pac has recently joined.
very
Like
strange, yeah, when you think about that angle, it gets even weirder.
Danielson would surely, even in if he would, like in kayfabe, still be friends with Danielson. Surely he could be like, "Oh, like, can you do me a favor and like, as your friend, can I go toe to toe with you for the title?" It really is just confusing motivations. It's not like I, I, I don't know whether it's like being overlooked or feeling like in character form, obviously, like he's gotten lazy or soft. I'm really just I don't know. What do you mean it's not your company anymore? Because to me it's more than just it's not Tony Khan's company. It's like it's not like this to me like how I read that is like it's not the fans' company. Like it's not like your version of what you think AEW should be anymore. So we got a nice little typical conglomeration backstage promo. Uh
Mac
yeah,
Briscoe just
Matt Briscoe, Hook being there, eating some Doritos, Willow as well. From this, just hyping up the. I just can't do this. Yeah, so Willow being there, and she announced that All Out against Chris Statlander, it's going to be a Chicago street fight, which is a lot of fun. Obviously, we'd speculated that it was going to have some kind of violent stipulation, and hopefully, these women can just wipe the floor with each other and really just pull it out the bag, which I think they will if they're given the time.
yeah,
I
that's a
do
big
worry about that because sometimes street fights don't really get the most time,
hmm
especially women's street fights. So I have a bit of concern about that, but I really hope that they're just able to they must have a lot to prove, like obviously being put on the pre-show, and then like the mixed tag element that was added. Like I but yeah, it not much to really say about it though. Like it's really great to see the conglomeration and Hook and obviously like you say Matt Briscoe. Like, they are very, very entertaining together, and I'm not saying that like, oh, it was fine. It's not stale. It's just like consistently fun, you know?
Yeah, it's a pretty random mishmash together. Um, but it's just fun. It's just fun. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to Willow versus Chris. Like you say, I hope they're given the chance to do something really good because I'm sure that they can pull something pretty good out the bag. I want to see some bloody violence.
Yep. Speaking of which, another lad who was in that segment, Big Tom, he went up against Hangman in an absolutely explosive match. God, this was good. This was good, better than it had any right to be.
Yeah,
This was
right.
just hard hitting, no sleeper holds, no wrist locks, just
Yeah, so
beating the
true.
shit out of each other. And there's such a great pairing because Hangman at the minute, he's kind of like a toddler that's had like a bag of sweets and just has like an endless amount of energy and endless amount of anger. And Ishii is just like the perfect punching bag because he's a stone pitbull. He's just gonna keep coming back for more and more punishment.
He's there. They were like, that's such a good point. They're like perfect opponents, aren't they? In the current situation that Hangman's in, he just wants to dish it out, and she's just like, I'll just take it. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll just keep you know regenerating my health and just walking back. And Ishii, someone made I saw a great comment earlier online about how he walks to the ring like he's just woken up from a nap and then does like the most graceful selling, and it's so true. Like his selling is just insane. I mean, God, yeah, that DDT on the apron, and then
Yeah,
later when he got the dead eye, and just the way like he just held himself like on his head, it just without looking like too hokey, genuinely looking like
yeah,
this man's just defied physics and just planted this guy on his head and snapped his neck like a video game. It's fucking sick, and it's just yeah, loving the summer tour of Ishii uh in AEW.
yeah. I love how much we're getting him on the TV. It's great. And as well, I just think they were just, like we've already said this, but they were just great foils for each other. I love Hangman's facial expressions, like how fuming, how angry he is all the time now. And he's always got this crazed look in his eye. It's so great.
Yeah, like I say, but it's like who'd you put up against Hangman because he's got that sort of aggressive attitude at the moment. Uh, just will blindside anyone who gets in his way. By nature, a lot of his matches are going to be squash matches, but this match was great because of that strong
Mhm.
style and that, like, system people, like, the first half of the match, it was sort of going blow for blow. Then Hangman just, like, breaking Ishii's neck, but then Ishii had a great comeback towards the end, that superplex off the top rope. Um, and towards the end, it was really, like, fighting tooth or nail for that victory.
Mhm.
And I love the way Hangman, especially in his sort of heel era, the way he always does the dead eye and then the buckshot afterwards. Like, he
Yeah,
could just take the victory. Um, I know he wants to fully lay out his opponent, project all of his swerve frustrations. But yeah, just absolutely fucking loved this after, like I said, a great intriguing open, then to be delivered this banger, it was like, oh, I'm feeling spoiled.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think the only thing I would add to what you said is Ishii hit it was sort of like a dead eye, and it like seemed
Yeah.
like God, he could have fucking broke Hangman's neck. That was brutal. That was really nasty. Like dropped him on his head. Um, and then when Hangman did hit the dead eye, I love how smooth it was. Like you didn't really see it coming, and he just got Ishii in position and hit. It was lovely. I just loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Uh, a bit of like a random combination on paper, but really, really worked.
Yeah.
So then, like I said, Buckshot and Hangman picked up the victory. Swerve came out and they instantly went nose to nose, then sort of had a stare down. Um, and this interaction again was so interesting because I feel like there was a lot of like character development in this rather than just it's not just as simple as I
I hate
hate
you.
you
Yeah.
and yeah, like Swerve said, like I could come out here and I could just lay you out for um being responsible for me losing the title, but I just feel sorry for you and like what could be worse to the ego of Hangman than like he's not even able to get the satisfaction of his revenge fully
Yeah.
because Swerve's not going to give him that. Swerve's going to prey upon his weaknesses of is he a good dad? And like it's not corny. It's the Hangman family stuff is not corny though. It's not corny in the way that like family in wrestling can be like, I love my family. Like sometimes it works, like Brian Danielson
Hmm.
crying later on. It works. Hangman, it works. Will Ospreay, with like his stepkid and his missus. Sometimes it could just come across a bit corny, but it never does with Hangman's character, I don't think.
Yeah, no, you're right. It doesn't. I can't. I'm not going to take credit for this because I have seen it. I think it was on Twitter that I saw it, and I can't remember who it was. But they basically pointed out how the reason Hangman took that time off was because he had a second kid, but he didn't sort of publicize that because of everything that has already happened with Swerve. For Swerve to now in this promo like blow that out in the open and just say it and just reveal that. That's the perfect encapsulation of like their whole reason for hating each other. And just that little attention to detail was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, because at the time it was just everybody was on the injured vacation list. It just said personal reasons.
Mhm.
Yeah, genuinely had no idea that it was because he was having another kid. But yeah, yeah, and then essentially he said that he's failed because he thinks he won. He's lost a title, but essentially like Swerve's still got like the legacy, and he's still got like the prestige, and he's still in a really strong position, and he will go back and he'll claim that title again. Like it's fine. And also he's got the love of the fans. The constant chant of whose house, and it's he's got the love of the people. He's got the people's heart. So that's something that Hangman can't take away. Like you say, Hangman then he popped off. And Hangman made mention obviously of like his invasion of his privacy, uh the disrespect Swerve shown him, but also that he's never been able to really beat him like one on one.
Mm.
The first two times he had help, and then the third time he couldn't do it. So that's a really interesting point. And it's like Swerve's there belittling him, and you kind of like in this side like Swerve is the face, but he's the heel to Hangman. And if overall you like wrote out the timeline, he's the heel overall, but he's
Yeah,
so rational that you as a viewer can't help but agree with him. And you're like, yeah, Hangman is
exactly.
crazy and obsessed.
It's it's so it's such a mind fuck to think about, and it's crazy how they've sort of flipped it on its head. But I love that. I love that it's not black and white. I love when you get that in wrestling when it's just like it's not clear cut bad guy versus good guy. Although it sort of is because you do have a face and a heel, but the story is it's got nuances to it. It's got complications. It's not just this guy is a good person. Like neither both of these men are flawed, and they've got their issues with each other that they haven't settled, and they need to settle it.
Yeah. Um, and then as reference to like you say, very sexual Dynamite, he said that he wants Swerve on his knees. Um, which is like,
They should
wow.
just
I'd
kiss and
love
get it over with.
I'd
That's the conclusion we're
Yeah,
actually
I'd love
looking
if it
for.
ends in sort of like a Mariah, Tony, Mina Shirakawa way where we just like let our homoerotic feelings out and we just ride off into the sunset together. Like that'd be great. Prince Nana wedding, ordaining it. Uh, but yes, Swerve says, go on then, let's do a steel cage match because obviously then they're going to be locked in with each other. There's no there's no room for I guess shenanigans or
Yeah, he
and,
said.
and they'll be able to get that violence out on each other.
Yeah, he said let's lock everyone else out and lock us in, didn't he? So, but that never really tends to happen with a steel cage match when someone says, "Oh, look, they're having this cage match so that to keep everyone else out." I mean, I'm not saying that I expect this to happen with this feud, but you know, what I mean, that's the pretty typical formula in wrestling.
Yeah, I think it's a great format though because you get that sort of one-on-one, but then also you get that violence, which
Yeah,
you can't go back after a street fight. You can't go back with this feud. You can only go further,
yeah.
and it's kind of terrifying to think what the hell they're going to do to each other,
Hmm.
um, and how much pressure they must be feeling, to outperform, uh, the match that they had previously. But yeah, and then sort of Swerve kind of wraps up by saying that, I essentially disregarded you at the end of my reign. You were still fixated on me. You lost out on opportunities, lost out on the Owen because you were fixated on me, but I didn't. Like, I got to basically main event Wembley and I just locked into my title. Um, y- and you could just see like a part of Hangman, like he played it so well because like just his something about his facade just kind of crumbles there. Like it kind of
Mm.
breaks. Like obviously he's been kind of had this sort of these walls up and this tunnel vision, and it was like for a moment, I don't know whether the tunnel has fully opened or whether he's having like a full realization. But I loved how he was like, well, what kind of man are you gonna be, you know, next Saturday at All Out? Like, are you gonna be a guy like your kids can be proud of? Like, are you gonna be like locked in? Or are you just gonna continue this like crazed act? Um, yeah, it's so manipulative. It's so
Mm.
manipulative. It's bloody brilliant.
King of gaslighting. Yeah. And
Gaslight, gatekeep,
he
girl
said as well
boss.
that yeah. He said as well that his career's up in flames, didn't he? Like that, just that
Yeah.
idea, he's just thrown it all away. I mean, when he laid out that list, like you said, you kind of like, shit, yeah, you make a really good point.
Do you think though that it did sort of penetrate like his psyche though? Like, do you think like going into Sunday we might see a more nuanced, not Sunday, Saturday, sorry, it's weirding me out that it's next Saturday, not next Sunday. A more nuanced version of a Hangman? Like, is he going to maybe be a bit more hesitant, or do you think like this is just adding more fuel to the fire and it's just like more reason to hate him?
It's an interesting question that because I think in some ways I'm kind of like, well, both, but that doesn't really make any sense. Like, how can it be both? But I think there's elements of Hangman being like, yeah, you're right, and I do need to focus, but I just think he's too unhinged at this point. He's too far gone to actually let that affect him in the ring, and I do think he's just going to be even more violent and more unhinged.
And Swerve's cool and calm now, but he's not locked in
Mm.
that cage yet. Like, it's almost
Yeah,
like
right.
Swerve isn't realized like the gravity of this monster that he's created that
Yeah.
he's gonna have to face come all out because while it would be nice to sort of see like that sympathetic version of Hangman, like, oh, like I don't want to, be that guy. I don't want to turn into, this bloodthirsty monster. But at the same time, how brilliant would it be for Swerve to just sort of have a broken moment himself of like, fuck. Oh, I just can't wait. Like,
There's
amazing.
there's many ways they could go with it. I'm really excited. It's all about that story, baby. It's all about the character. I love them. I love them both, and they're very very good at like drawing you in with the emotions. So yeah, I do think it'll be very emotional, if nothing else, and
I
violent
saw someone say
and
that
gay.
if if Tony Khan was ever gonna license My Way for a video package, now would be the time.
Yeah,
Now would be for All Out. Now would be the time, Tony. Get paying them royalties.
I know you blew the budget on Final Countdown, but come on, a little bit more.
Um, yeah, and then coming up next, Jamie Hayter. This is her first match back. Well, obviously she came out All In, which unfortunately we fucking missed because who the fuck was expecting Jamie Hayter to come out during the pre-show? Sorry, I
Ten,
didn't predict that. I was getting a hot dog.
10 minutes before the pre-show ended as well, she kind of like, oh, they're just like, now it's going to really happen in these 10 minutes, so we're safe to go buy us some food. And then I just remember standing there in that queue and being like, I think I can hear Soraya having a fit out there.
But it
And
wasn't enough for us to be intrigued. We were just like,
well,
oh, cool.
it's Soraya, I don't really give a shit. I'm not gonna be rushing. I'm not gonna be losing my place in that naturals queue to go see what she's getting up to. You know what I mean? But yeah, like you said, why it's a shame for Jamie Hayter that she was just on the pre-show. I think quite a lot of people probably missed that just because of its placement.
Yeah, and then
And
she
they
had a
didn't do
great
like
pop.
a replay or anything either.
No, no. It was just, and then obviously, yeah, she's back on Dynamite, debuting after practically a year out. But it was against Harley Cameron, which it was like to me, I'm in two minds. One mind, great match, great to see her back. She proved that she's just as good as she's always been. She's fucking she can just go in the ring. She's really good and she's got the support that she's got for a reason. However, I'm following your lead, Tony Khan. And if you're putting this woman's debut on the pre-show and then putting her against Harley Cameron, to me that says that you don't really care. And then
Mm.
I pull back a bit. It's a bit like a push and pull, a bit of a toxic situationship, Mr. Tony Khan, because like why should I care? Like I'm just like mirroring you. If you're telling me to not give a fuck, and I understand like build people up. Maybe it's like you don't want to do the same as what you did with Britt Baker, and you're trying to work out a bit of ring rust, or but I doubt it. I highly doubt it. To
Mm.
me, it just feels like she's back. I'm having more fun. I've only got two women's titles. I'm having fun with Chris Statlander and Will. I've got these other feuds, and I don't know. I just feel like if that was me, I'd wait for a more explosive or storyline moment to bring her back rather than just, oh, she's back.
Yeah,
I don't know, just like a cheap like pop on like, oh, and another, and obviously it's fun. Oh, another thing on the bloody Dynamite card, Jamie Hayter's back. Woo, guys! But it's like I don't know, like that's a lot of momentum to just fucking throw away.
yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I think that what the what they're going for, I understand it to an extent. So Soraya and whoever else like put her out, and that's
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
kayfabe reason that they're going with her having an injury. So it's like, oh, she's come back for her revenge. But maybe we could have just left it from the All In pre-show and just done that whole thing that on Dynamite instead. I don't know, just have it all play out on Dynamite. But then I guess you wouldn't have a match. But I don't know. It just feels like, yeah, like you say, it gets lost on the pre-show, and it gives that impression of this doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah. And it's just like it's just a bit confusing and like she's come back, she's like dyed her hair. And I'm
Yeah,
like, are we debuting like because her looks kind of changed. I'm like, is this a new
yeah, she looks super
character?
different.
Like I haven't seen any affiliation with Britt Baker yet. Like
Yep.
it's just not very well explained and yeah, it's logical that she goes against the bloody outcast, but like, is it the most interesting thing? It's knowing when to
Yeah.
pivot,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's just like what you said, like and this match, like there was nothing wrong with the match, but it was very short and it was very predictable. And it was just sort of like, okay, that's sort of it. What what's pulling me in? That's what's exciting me about this return.
Yeah, I feel like, maybe a little bit hypocritical because I know a lot of people were dunking on Kyle Fletcher, like obviously Ricochet's debuting and oh my God, his big matches against Kyle Fletcher. But to me, like that was fine. Like I was really happy for Kyle Fletcher. I think he's
Yeah,
been sort of working away and I think he's earned it. And I think I knew like before that they're gonna put on a great match. But I
yeah,
just don't feel like that about Harley Cameron. Like I just don't think it's like leveled with each other. if that makes sense. So like
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know if that comes across hypocritical, like, oh, I have no problem with Ricochet going against someone lower down on the card, but I just feel like with Harley Cameron, I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve opportunities, but I don't know whether that's like who I would have picked. I've got so many other people. I just don't know if that's obviously it's the logical reason, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I know where you're coming from. I just, it's just see it from the storyline perspective, but it's just like it's not the most thrilling, is it? It's not
no.
what people aren't like, oh my God, can't wait to see Harley Cameron's match on Dynamite this week. Unfortunately, it's just not the way it is.
So many other ways they could have like inserted a, um, but yeah, it's still great to have her back and hopefully some more interesting things going forward. Apologies for my cold sounds. Like I'm just progressively like finding it harder to like talk through. Um, but we'll get there. Next
Bloody
up we had
London germs. Don't go down south,
bloody
guys.
underground. No, there
Ugh,
was like so many people in London that coughed and sneezed and didn't cover their mouth. So I'm not surprised that I'm ill.
it's
Like
disgusting.
proper, just like influenza, like went for it. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
We're both feeling it.
Anyway,
We're both feeling it. Fucking don't go back to
yeah,
London. Only joking. We'll be back next year for Forbidden Door.
we will. Worth it. The bloody learning tree stable promo now with Renee. This was just shite.
Yeah,
Shite.
nothing else really to say about it other than it was shite, to be honest.
Yeah, Jericho's proud of Hook, which just made no sense. Like, what? You've just lost the belt, and you're like, I'm proud of Hook. Like, that's just like beyond irony. Like, what are you on about? And then, uh, yeah, Roddy was there, and he was proud to be part of the Jericho Vortex for one night. He managed to say that with a straight face. Uh, just a load of shite, yeah. Next up, MJF comes out. He's in a grey suit, grey scarf. Also makes his way down to the ring, very somber, very serious. Says he talked, and even his tone of voice was like someone who's like hungover.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. He
That
just
was like
sounded
the
like
vibe I was getting.
he just couldn't be asked, could he? He was like, if any of you boo me, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, brilliant. And it just hilarious. He said he's discounted his American citizenship minus Plainview, Long Island. Absolutely hilarious. Like, just where were
What a
you
shit
guys? Like,
house.
I was out there defending America. Just it proper cracked me up. He says AEW without MGF is a circus. Think we can all agree with that. As much as we love AEW, MGF truly is. He is. He's the backbone. Everything he says is completely right. Like, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's one of the things that I think we've talked about before when there's a promo and they say something and they kind of mean it. Yes, he's a heel, but he does mean it, and he is kind of right.
all right. You only have to look at what things were like when he was off TV. But he says it's not over with Osprey, and one day we'll rip a prize away from him. Just says he's like is about to win a big one, so I have no doubt that that'll be super long term. Start fucking knowing Max, it might be like 20 years down the future, and he'll like
Yeah.
remember it and like rip something away from him. Uh, Maybe he's like retirement match or something. But yeah, that's great. And then he exploded at Garcia. Uh, Said he was just trying to help a young boy. And then Garcia attacked him from behind. Um, yeah, it was good. Garcia kind of gets a lot of offense in. He goes to do the tombstone pile driver off the top rope, as was done to him. But security, Christopher Daniels, uh, come in, rip him off. Then Mox kind of got the upper hand, which to me like made the brawl feel a little bit more like realistic.
Mm.
Um, in the sense of like it's not just he got like beat down and then like he's out, or like he got beat down then he made it out secure. I don't know. It was just I just liked how like he got a bit in as well. But Garcia
Yeah.
returned to form. Security returned. Uh, Garcia picks up the mic and just gives Garcia's just completely like finally like hit his stride, hasn't he? Like for so long, people
Yeah.
have he's been people's boy for so long, and people have just wanted this from him for so long. To the point, with me, where I just don't know if he has it in him. I think he's just gonna be a mid carder forever. Uh, but I loved ruining your life is my fetish.
Yeah, here we go
Great
again
line.
with the horniness on this episode. Like, what on earth? Yeah, yeah. I thought it was a really good promo. Really good. I mean, obviously from both of them, Max is always very good, but yeah, yeah, Dan Garcia sounded great.
Yeah, he sure did. And Garcia vs MJF has been booked for All Out, and he says he's gonna break his neck, and then he threw the mic at him, and it was just, especially when you think of how high of a climax we reached when Garcia was covered in blood,
Yes.
um, and taken out. Garcia went straight into that character weeks later, fully impassioned, just gave it his all, really just, you know, hitting his lines, hitting his notes, and good on him. And now, it's just the match. And if he hits it out of the park with the match, then I think it's just going to keep launching him into more and more
Yeah.
opportunities, which, is what people have wanted for so long. So yeah, can't wait to see how that goes.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that he's not gonna like lose his momentum like after this is all said and done. I think if he can have a good program with Max, then that's gonna hold a lot of weight. Because obviously Max has a big voice backstage, and he's a main player. So if he can vouch for him, and then that's gonna do amazing things for him. So hopefully, and I'm sure it's gonna play out really well. So we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, and these are the type of guys that we want at the top. People who can wrestle. Daniel Garcia is a great wrestler, though. Like guys, like I know he probably will hit out of the park with the match, but people who can tell stories, people who can perform with high emotions, who are
Yes.
convincing. That's who you want. And if Daniel
Yes.
Garcia is moving up there and he can hit those marks, that makes me very happy because the more people we have like that at the top, rather than just good wrestlers, the people at the top should be able to deliver storylines as well. That's just going to move the product forward. That's a win. That's a win for everyone.
Totally agree.
That's how we should be reshuffling this shit if
Yes.
we care about ratings and viral moments and moving shit forward.
So true. Completely agree.
So then we got a Ricochet video package, just to remind you of his match later. I think, on the vlog we were like, put our thumbs up to his debut. That was our response. Like, yeah, thumbs up.
I, Everyone around us was like, holy shit, holy shit. And I don't know, I was just kind of like, um, yeah, it's cool. But I heard this rumor, and I wasn't really that surprised. And I was just kind of like, I know he's a good wrestler, but he's not one of these people who I think, you know, is the best wrestler in the world. Like, he's not in my top 20
No, he's not
wrestlers.
like he's not our style of wrestler. Like, and that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I really hope, I think Ricochet is going to put on banging matches. But I was saying with Daniel Garcia, it's just like, he's going to be great in like a Forbidden Door Wrestle Dream type vibe. But week to week programming where you need those stories, he's not someone that like excites me. And maybe you can prove me wrong. Osprey Ricochet running that back is going to be mint. Kenny Omega versus Ricochet, mint. Dream matches in the making. He's going to be fucking solid, and he's a great person to have as part of it. But I think like for us and like what we value, and like knowing that it's not just pay-per-views and big matches, there's week to week programming that needs to be entertaining, and knowing how he kind of coped with that in WWE. I think AEW is a better fit for him than WWE, 100%. But like knowing that he just kind of became one of those guys who flips a lot and smiles a lot, I think that to me is like where my reservation comes from. I don't hate
Yes.
him. I think he's very, very, very fucking good. His match was awesome. But, there's that reservation of like, okay, like, okay, like,
What
I
else?
don't know if I'm, yeah, I don't know if I'm like wording it right.
I think you are. I think you are. Excited what you mean, and I agree with you. I think you put into words what I didn't realize was how I was looking at it was like he doesn't excite me as this oh, I'm going to get into deep into this awesome feud sort of thing. It's more like, I'll put on a good match and we'll be excited for this dream match. But yeah, that's just, and to some people, that's what they value in wrestling, and that's totally valid because everyone has different tastes and things. But I guess to us, we're more in it for the deeper stories and the characters and things. But obviously, I'm very open to being proved wrong.
Yeah. Like he's not the full package. Like he's
Yeah,
like he's gonna be mint in like an Owen Hart or like shit like that. But
yeah,
can he hit everything? Put him in a program with Max, and then we'll get back to the review with
yes,
that. Put him to the Max test.
yes.
Uh, Next up, Hook and the Conglomeration. This was the six man with Roddy and the Learning Tree stable. For me, I didn't really get to watch this match well because I don't know if it was my stream, but the picture in picture was cut in and out really weirdly. I believe it was my stream.
It seemed well, it seemed like there was a lot of like more frequent breaks than usual. Like
And
it
like
was it
weird
was
camera
very
cuts for me.
confusing.
That's what I got.
Mm.
I don't know if that was like an error like the previous week with fucking Taco Bell fucking souping crunch wrap with Jack Perry while he's making like a jigsaw style saw tape. I don't know what the tea is with that, but yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, this match was it was just your typical AEW 8-man tag, you know what I mean? Like that big multi-man match. It was very fast-paced. I thought it picked up quite well towards the end. But it wasn't particularly memorable or like meaningful in terms of stories or anything. You know, you had like the intertwining sort of stories between a few of the different men in the match, but it wasn't like, oh my God, you missed this huge match in the story type of thing.
yeah, and did you see Tony Khan tweet? He was like, because obviously he's been getting a lot of flack for this sort of booking of not just Chris Jericho, but all these people involved in the bloody vortex. And he was like, "Trust me, guys, like it's going to be worth it." So I think a lot of people were speculating that Big Bill was going to turn on Chris Jericho because of the amazing response that Bill got in in the UK, but obviously that didn't happen. So like, that was like where my expectations were. So when that didn't happen, and it was just a bit of a vanilla tag, I was like, okay, I've seen this many
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I wish they would have capitalized a bit more on Big Bill, but like I feel like the response just wasn't the same to him in the US. I don't know what it is about him in the UK that people just seem to love, but it just didn't really translate
Well,
as
the
much.
crowd, you go from a 50k, I think it was like a 5k in Cardiff, I believe, 5k. I'm
Not
right in
sure,
saying
yeah.
that. About that, but like it was like only 3k. It was awful, the arena this week, guys. So I've heard it was in
Yeah.
Champion, whatever, in Chicago, which apparently is not in the center of Chicago. They're running three shows in Chicago, one of which being a pay-per-view. So obviously, if you're a Chicagoan, like you're going to go to the fucking pay-per-view. I would be too, because I am skint. Um, so I totally respect that, like why y'all wouldn't be going down and getting in those seats. Maybe you would have done had you known like the John Moxley return had been advertised and the Jamie Hayter. I don't know, but that's a factor. But yeah, it's the crowd was dead though, even for like the 3K. Like people just this was an awesome Dynamite, and it was just gutting because like it would have banged so much harder in the UK had they done like
Mm,
a
so
post all
true.
in show
Yeah.
in the UK. But like I say, it's just jarring, going from the hype of like I know you can't really compare Wembley, but Cardiff to like Chicago, and also it's like a rundown market. Like they've ran that market so many times, um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, like you said, it's a real shame when Big Bill had all this like fucking momentum, and then yeah.
Yeah, that must have been really jarring for him. But I'm glad that you pointed that out. The crowd seemed really dead. Like the atmosphere was very off, very weird. Um, and I wasn't sure if that was just a problem with my audio or something, but yeah, the crowd seemed really asleep for a lot of this.
Yeah, you can't really blame him for this match. Roddy ended up losing. Hook had him in the red room, but he had his foot on the rope.
Mm.
Aubrey still called it as Hook winning because she saw Roddy tap in. And then there was Bennett and Taven beat down on Hook, and Roddy held up the FTW title belt. So obviously that's like his next move, which like was interesting. Like, oh, that's kind of cool, I guess. Like, at least it's Hook moving away from Chris Jericho. At least it's giving
Yeah.
Roddy something to do. But it's just like one of those angles that's like self-contained, like the FTW belt, and it's like no one's going to benefit from this. Like, no, whether Roddy wins and then it's just Hook chasing his belt back, whether Hook wins, like no one's going to get like a
Yeah.
big boost or character development from this. So it's just like, and it's also not like, oh, this is going to be an absolute banger of a match. So it's just, I don't know.
Who knows? It could be. It could be. No, but you're
Could be
right
a
though.
timeless classic.
You're absolutely right. Um, I guess they're just gonna run with the thing of, oh well, Hook, you didn't even beat me properly. My foot was on the rope. I'm gonna beat you, and it's like, okay, how exciting.
Next up, a super fun segment, freaking private party backstage at Mercedes title celebration. Uh, they made a move on Monday, and then the best part about it was Okada coming to save the day. Okada, the type of guy that you leave your drink with.
Yeah, so true, so true. I trust him. He has good aura, good energy. Yeah, this was really funny. Private party just
Yeah,
shooting their shot.
yeah, just nonsense, but it's fun to watch, and I fucking love Okada, and the Okada Mercedes little thing they've got going is it's hilarious, and I mean, I guess like without getting back into it, where'd you go from the Britt Baker Mercedes thing? Like the reception to that, I guess, like to just keep it lighthearted and keep it moving through. Uh,
Yeah, we don't need to no do not need to
but
dwell
yeah,
to dwell on it. Just move on. Something a bit light-hearted. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
yeah. Do you think though? Quickly want to ask. Do you think they're gonna do what is the plan for All Out? Because it's strange that like they didn't really build towards anything. Like I'm assuming Mariah and Tony are doing a rematch. But what's Mercedes doing all unless they're just not featuring the women's title? But then how could they not? It's like the women's title. Um, I'm just a little bit confused.
Yeah, maybe we'll get Jamie Hayter somehow involved. We don't have long to build for it, so fuck knows.
Yeah, I've literally got a collision to Dynamite, so
Yeah, yeah. Mm,
yeah.
no idea.
Next up, the Grizzled Young Vets. This is when they were at Wembley. The Bucks came and shared their admiration, but the Grizzled Young Vets wanted none of that. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool to see the grizzled young vets like in AEW. They definitely deserve it, and they're amazing wrestlers. It would be nice to see them do something a bit different, just in terms of the gimmicks and stuff. I don't know. I'm not at all trying to say, oh, it's tired or anything like that, but just if you've been around the British indie scene, like you would have seen it a lot, and I don't know. It's nice to see them doing it because obviously they're good at it. But I hope that like in AEW going forward, we see some good development of them and see something maybe a bit different from them.
Yeah, it's just fine. Uh, Next up, oh, let's just move on to this, guys. Takeshita G1. Oh my Lord. My boy got a package dedicated to him. He looked fucking amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
G1 this year was great. Obviously, Zack Sabre Jr. picking up the win. And for Takeshita's valiant crusade, he gets a fall in on Rampage. But you know what, guys? A win is a win. I'm just happy to have him back.
Well, yeah, I sort of had the same reaction, but on the other hand, I was sort of like, why are we acting like I don't know, like he's some brand new shiny new toy on AEW when like he was
Oh, but I'm
here a
glad.
few months ago,
I feel
and
like
then he
that's what he
just
needs, though, like a reset.
Yeah, no, that actually, yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. Just, I don't know, I guess I found the presentation of it a bit weird. It's like, guys, oh my God, isn't this so cool? We've got this guy. And it's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah,
We loved him
exactly. You've
before.
got this guy. Like,
We we,
please
we really
use
like
him.
him. You don't we like him anyway. You don't need to convince us to like him. We know how good and how cool he is.
So true, but I'm glad that he's like re-convincing himself, re-falling in love with him.
Yeah,
Uh, because he's fucking mint. He's fucking mint, and he could go to New Japan tomorrow and be the face of the company. They,
so
they
true.
don't realize what they've got. They've got
Mm.
gold with that guy. He's amazing. Uh, yeah. Speaking of good wrestling, next up we got Ricochet versus Kyle Fletcher. As said, went into the controversy. Many people were not happy with the choice of Kyle Fletcher, but I think he totally smashed it. I thought this was a really, really great match. They were both just feeding off each other. It was explosive. It was like watching like two bloody fireworks going off against each
Yeah.
other. Barely in the ring. I'd love to like have a timer for like this type of match to see how often their feet were touching
Yeah.
the ground, see who had the higher contact with gravity. But yeah, this banged, guys. This banged.
Yeah, I feel like people who are complaining about this are probably people who don't really watch AEW and they're just like, oh, it's Ricochet, he's signed. What are they gonna do with him in the first match? They're like, who the fuck is this guy? Fuck that. And it's just like, okay, yeah, well, no, we've not put him against fucking Okada or Will Ospreay in his first match. But Kyle Fletcher's actually really good, so what are you complaining about? I don't know. It's a null complaint, in my opinion. And the match proved it because it was good. So, and I think anyone who, I mean, Kyle Fletcher's really popular as well in his own right. Like people, there's a lot of people who think he's brilliant, and rightly so.
Yeah, Kyle Fletcher's totally like won me over. Like obviously Aussie Open's always been great, but I've never really always been people have been like, oh, like Kyle Fletcher's a singles guy, like he's gonna be amazing. I'm just like, is he? Is he? And then like having him do this singles run while Davis is out injured, I'm like, shit, yeah, like he's got
Right.
a lot of potential there, a
Yeah,
lot. And he's so young as well, so no rush there
26.
whatsoever. But just yeah, t totally won me over. And like I said before, like when Ricochet debut, thumbs up, guys. But like this match did make me hype. For I thought it was great. Like definitely got me hyped to see the bangers, the
Hmm.
the wrestling that Ricochet will do. And
Yeah,
it's always lovely, I think, to see someone go from an environment that maybe they're not doing their best at to an environment which they thrive in. And this isn't a fed bad comment because like, I'm equally happy if Ricky Starks moves over to NXT and he gets that vibrance and that happiness to perform back, which
yeah,
obviously in his last runs he's lacked severely because he's not happy with what he's been doing. Um, but it's always great to see someone go to like a new environment where maybe they're better suited to that sort of like rejuvenation. It's nice.
yeah, 100%. It's nice to see, yeah, like you said, just like refresh and just start something new and see where it goes. Like you got that, just you can feel the hope that they've got, and that really comes across, and it's really nice to see.
Yeah, yeah, and just brings the morale up, I think, as well. And then obviously Osprey came out at the end, which was sick because that's the match that we all want to see. He had the mic, but he didn't even get a chance to cut a promo because Pac did the most brutal poison rana on the ramp.
I love
Nasty
that.
shit.
I freaking
Nasty
love
shit.
that. Like, what a great way to jump someone from behind. Like, fuck punching them in the head. Fucking break his neck. I love that. That is so Pac as well. That there's not many people that would work well, but him, that was perfect. And also the
No clothes
execution
on.
of it.
Full wrestling gear.
Yeah, he was ready to go. There's not many people who could execute that as well as Osprey as well. Like
Oh God.
obviously
Yeah.
that type of move, it relies on the person taking it just as much as the person giving it. So props to him for that. I loved it.
Yeah, and he tells Ricochet to get to the back of the line because Osprey belongs to him. Because like Pac has been like the number
The
one
number one
contender for
contender.
bloody ages for this title. So
Good for him.
Yeah, good
He's
for him.
right. I think, did we miss out the Mariah May promo? Was that like earlier in the show? Or was that coming up?
Do you know what? We did miss it out. I thought I wrote it down, but
It was just before the Ricochet match.
yeah, yeah, missed that out. Yeah, let's just jump back into that.
I,
Yeah,
I think,
Shivani was there, wasn't he, to interview her?
yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of like maybe speaks to the impact that it had, which was little, because it was so short. Um, yeah, she basically came out and was like, "Yeah, I was gonna do like a nude celebration, but not in this piece of shit town." And then like she took her robe off and she had some lingerie on or whatever, and then she didn't really say much else, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, it was like I say, it was nice enough, but
She
yeah, not
didn't,
much to say. I
didn't
enjoyed it.
really,
I enjoyed her,
yeah,
but like I guess like yeah, it's not obviously it's not been like massively impactful.
yeah. It was just her. It was just a really typical heel promo, wasn't it? Like, this town sucks and you're all ugly. No,
She's very good at like delivering her lines, so
yes,
she does
that's true. I'm not doing her any justice here. It sounds like
no.
but I didn't hate it. I just felt like it was really, really short.
Yeah, especially since like it's the first time winning the women's title. Like, you know, maybe but it's like, what do you do? Because like Mercedes has kind of done the over the top party,
True. So
and
true.
so what do you do? I mean, I don't like. Obviously, they didn't really build towards other than Stat and Willow vaguely in a backstage promo. They didn't
Mm,
really build towards any of the women's what we're gonna get going forward. The week of All Out. So like obviously that's gonna be really dependent on Collision and Dynamite next week.
yeah, for sure. I hope we get something. I hope they deliver on that because yeah.
Yeah. Then we had Mox walking backstage and some stagehands or perhaps the guy holding the camera, I don't know, was like, what's going on? He said, thou shalt not cast pearls before swines. And then the backstage hands were assaulted by a woman who brutally took out, I don't know, about like four or five of them, and then it was revealed to be Marina Shafir, which again just like builds to like this level of intrigue because now Marina Shafir's involved, it seems she is an accomplice to John Moxley. How many accomplices does he have? What is Marina Shafir's motivation? Is it cause like again like being overlooked? But then why would Darby want to join? Because has Darby been overlooked? And Darby's kind of like Team AEW, so I can't imagine Darby wanting
Mm.
to join unless that's not the but I don't know. I
Doesn't seem to
don't
fit
know.
his character, does it, to like want to go in with this parent group that are, like beating up random people backstage? Like that's not really what Darby's about.
Yeah.
So
Uh
very strange.
Rhea
But
Shafir as well, like she's never really been that good. Uh but she looked great here. She
yes,
looked great,
yeah,
you know.
for real.
So that was
Very,
interesting.
very brutal and like violent. That's just what came across, like super strong and
Yeah,
I
for
it
sure.
didn't of all the things, I don't think anyone would have guessed that this was gonna happen on Dynamite this week.
No, and like Rhea Shafir, like she's such like a random person, I feel like
Yeah,
hardly featured. Like I don't I don't know, but I guess like it's all gonna come out at some point, like what the motivations are and why she's a part of this and where does Blackpool Combat Club stand with Moxley doing this? Like they're such
yeah,
like a united, wholesome family, you know, the end of All In. He wasn't
yeah.
there
That makes
to
me sad.
celebrate Danielson's big moment. Like I don't I don't know.
That
I honestly
hurts
don't
me.
I don't know. But I love it. I kind of love it as well. I love like there's so much ground to cover, which gives us like a lot to talk about on here. So
So true, so true. Yeah, I love the chaos and the unpredictability, but it makes my little heart hurt because Mock's like, come on, your adopted son Wheeler, you needs you.
think he's gonna brutalize you.
No, no, he better not.
I think like I was saying before, like I thought like Danielson MOX is like where we're going, but then obviously later on,
Yeah.
as we'll get to this next segment, it's Jack Perry, and then you add Darby Allin into the mix. It's just chaos up there. It's chaos up there at the moment. It's always so disorientating, I think, when like you've had like a champion like Swerve for so long and it's been quite linear, like he defeated like he's just kind of been what I mean, like going down the list of people, but now it's like that frenzied sort of title picture.
Yeah.
Just
Who's next? Who's up?
yeah, it's a bit jarring, but in a good way, for sure. The
Totally,
unpredictability.
totally.
So next up we had Danielson about to talk about the state of his career. Obviously, like I said before, Wembley said that this was potentially his last match if he lost for a long time. He wants to, you know, go on hiatus, partly retire. Uh, and he said in the ring that his contract expired on August the 1st, and he needs neck surgery and his family is ready for him to come home. And the way he spoke of him was just like he actually teared up at one point about talking about Birdie and how he said Wembley that night was like the greatest day of my life. And when he was like, that was
So
my
cute.
favorite memory. And then he just
Yeah.
started like crying. I was
Best moment
like,
of his career. I was like, so it was the best day of my life as well. Oh, it was
just
so
so
emotional.
sad. So lovely.
So sad.
Just
Just
yeah,
you
just
don't get like that raw emotion like much in wrestling. Like truly, like really in like a positive way. Like that was highlight of my career type of like real emotion. And it's
yeah.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
And just like you said, the authenticity and just how he is just willing to put everything like on the line, not just body, but soul, mind, everything for his final run. Like he is just there, he is vulnerable, and he's just soaking up every last moment. And it just, yeah, just basking in that moment of like receiving his flowers, like after that amazing ending to Wembley. And who could deserve it more than Bryan Danielson? For sure. It was just a really lovely, touching, heartwarming moment. And then, like I say, he was talking about how it's got all these things, sort of swimming around his head, but that he's not gonna go yet. He's got the title and he's gonna fight for that title. But when he loses the title, you drew that stake out. When that title's gone, he's gone. So that's like a huge. I mean, like obviously, I feel like we can all kind of guess that, but it's like to say that out loud as well to put that stake on the
Yeah,
line. It just means like every pay-per-view now going forward, like
is
it
that's
really
gonna
could be
that
his last, and
yeah
that's just like
that stake is
that's
gonna
just
be on
crazy.
every feud now, and every match.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, that he'll go with him full time then, and then Jack Perry popped up on screen, and he's just like, nobody believed in me. You didn't believe in me. Uh, and he says his whole goal is to retire by Danielson. Uh, and then he says like your future's behind you. And then he jumps him, and it ends with him holding both the TNT and the world title up. Uh, yeah, really. As a Jack Perry fan for the minority, it was pretty fucking cool for me. I was like, what?
I bet
What?
that made your day.
It made my fucking life. It did, honestly. Um, yeah, I mean,
I mean, where do you even
I
begin to unpack this? Like, did you see this coming?
no. Like I said, I think as well, like, because the whole time, like, Mox had been threaded in from the start, and then they've got an affiliation to each other. And Mox is sort of like
Yeah,
making his way through the arena. You think that, like, that's gonna have some kind of bearing, and then also being a fucking mark. I know that on the dirt sheets, Darby's been talked about to be in the world title picture.
yeah,
So, like, it is quite like a left field thing, but it's just like it's like an equation. Like if Darby's going to be affiliated to let me just get this straight, guys. So Darby is going to be a world champion, right? He's now been affiliated with Moxley. We don't know whether that's heel, whether that's like he's going to turn heel with that or not. Moxley's affiliated with Danielson because they run a faction together, but we also don't know where their loyalties stand.
Yeah.
Christian Cage is due a match against Danielson. Christian Cage has an affiliation to Jungle Boy after bloody ripping his dinosaur away from him. Darby Allin and Jack Perry have got an affiliation because they've just been going at it, trying to kill each other recently. It's a mind fuck. It's an absolute mind. So it does make sense, Jack Perry being there. Absolutely. It makes sense for his character, for his arrogance. Of course, he's a scapegoat. He wants to be the ultimate sacrifice. He wants to be, in his mind, he's sacrificed so much, he should be the face of All Elite Wrestling. And he's a great wrestler, and in my opinion, like, yeah, he fucking deserves it. But it's not just that. It's like there's so much like orbiting this shit that like when you take a step back, and I'm sure like it's going to become more apparent, and especially when these relationships are explored and defined. Are Danielson and Mox on good terms? Is Danielson cool with Mox going around doing that? What's Darby's response going to be? What's Christian Cage going to do? Is Killswitch going to stay loyal to Christian? Like,
You know what?
it's a lot. It's a lot.
You know what I'm picturing right now? Do you know that meme from Always Sunny where Charlie's like he's at the wall and there's this massive spidergram and he's like
that's what I feel like right now. Tony Khan when he had his little fantasy booking session. That was
someone
him.
Please make that a meme, like just change that image to Tony Khan's face, because that is that's the perfect way to sum it up. You just listed all these things and I don't even know what to think. My brain is like,
oh no, it's so exciting though. So I can't wait because it's not gonna be that. You guys who are getting upset, it's not gonna be Jack Perry versus Danielson, and it's a simple boring feud. It's gonna. There's a lot more going on. Like there's a lot more going on.
It's deep.
There's some shit I don't trust Tony Khan with. There's some shit I don't with. Women's division, I'll trust him with. Fucking Chris Jericho, I don't trust him with. But having watched this product for a long time, when he's throwing you a line.
Yeah, you're right. It's not. When it's not straight cut down the middle and there's a curveball coming. You just gotta ride it out. You just gotta wait and see.
God. Yeah, for me, 9 out of 10 show.
9 out of 10. I can live with 9 out of 10. Sounds good.
Go to sleep with 9 out of 10 on your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was good for all the reasons we've just said, like just very out of left field and very like, whoa, what's this about? Which is what you want. I guess there was some sort of glaring people maybe missing that you would have wanted to hear from or given everything. But actually, it kind of makes me want to watch Collision because we're so close to All Out. I'm like, right, we need to fill in a lot of gaps here. Hopefully we'll hear from Christian on Collision, perhaps.
It seems to be like his home at the minute, doesn't it? Like that's just where he fucking resides. So yeah, I would be kind of shocked if we don't hear from him till next week's Dynamite. But it's like having a jigsaw at the minute, and there's a lot of missing pieces, and we can't see the full picture.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm looking forward to filling that in. And I don't think it's a case of just All Out. I think it's like what he is giving to us right now is to bloody World's End. To me, if I had to predict like World's End, like that's where it's all kind of heading to. And he's sort of
it's like the long term
planned it all out. Yeah, long term for sure. Yeah, it's just great to just have AEW be back on top form. Like after such a shite start to the year, guys. It was rough. We forget. We were on like 6.5s. It was bad.
Yeah, we were. We're in the trenches, guys.
We really were. But now, just it's great to have it on top form. And yeah, thanks for Thanks for hopefully sticking around for this week's episode. I just want to add a tiny bit of news, but it's also a massive bit of news. I'm very intrigued. Netflix have announced a documentary on Vince McMahon produced by the director of Tiger King. So
Oh, is that who that person is? I recognize the name, but I
yeah,
don't know who it was.
yeah. So
This was like
oof,
announced before, wasn't it? Like that they were making it, and now it's being released in like late
yeah.
September. That's just after your birthday and just before mine. So like,
What a treat.
gathering all my family around. Like, what do you want to do for your birthday? We're gonna sit and watch this.
Yeah, maybe we could watch it and give you guys a review on it. That would
Oh
be quite
yeah,
nice, I think.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so that's it for me though. Like that's my news. That's my thoughts on the show. Uh, thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to, as always, returning subscribers and returning commenters, my day ones. Love you.
Yeah. It
Uh,
honestly it does make our day like reading comments and getting to reply to them, especially from people and you'll know who you are who comment like every time. It's like it's really nice. It's really nice that we see people coming back because I think that's like the that means a lot. You know, it's not just you watch one video sort of thing. Like obviously we value everyone, but yeah, it means a lot because it's like you're not sick of us yet, and that's amazing.
I just feel like I'm just one hot take away from losing it all. Every
Yeah.
every video, I'm like one hot take away. But gotta keep it real, gotta keep it 100. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and definitely let us know what you think, like the direction that they're going in with
Oh my God, all
the
the
title
theories, all
picture.
the
And
all the fantasy booking, please
yeah,
feed
we
me.
want to know. We want to know it all. Give us
Shane
some
McMahon.
ideas. Oh yeah, I've
How
been
does
seeing a
Shane
lot of this.
McMahon fit into this?
Yeah, right. So do you remember? That's just come back to me like all in. There was someone sat like in front of us who was like, "Shane McMahon's here. He is like I know he is." Like they were convinced. They were absolutely
Me with
convinced.
Jay White.
Oh yeah. I wish I got that in the vlog, but it didn't make it in like just the absolute devastation when he weren't in that match, the gauntlet.
It's because he was on like I didn't have any hope until we walked up to Wembley and he was on the poster
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, the
And
massive graphic.
it's a sign, guys. It's a
Um,
sign. Jay White is coming back. And then
and he
he
wasn't.
did. But, you know,
Where does Jay White fit into all this? Maybe he's the missing part of the puzzle.
Jay White hopefully comes back when all this is sort of simmered down, though. I don't want him to get
Yeah.
lost in the shuffle. I think hopefully New Year programming, he could just sort of swipe in and come back for his title because he definitely deserves it. After he didn't never got his rematch,
He
so
deserves it. It's on the cards.
it's on the cards, baby. Anyway, before we go down a Jay White bloody Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole, let's end this episode.
Yes.
Thank you for sticking with us, and
Yeah.
all that, and see you next week for the review and the all out review as well.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night, bang!
I wish you died in the womb!